there is a concern, I think, that people have that I've seen this in the national dialogue, that this now is a New York-centered disease, New York metropolitan area-centered disease. And I would tell you that we saw the same dialogue about 3 weeks ago as related to the city of New Rochelle. People identified that there was a high concentration in New Rochelle, and somehow there was a tie into the geography itself to the disease. Now that we've tested more thoroughly around Westchester County, what have we found? We found that the higher results follow higher population. As Yonkers, New Rochelle, Mount Vernon, White Plains, and Greenburgh, the 5 largest population centers in our county, are now the 5 largest places where we have positive cases. So it is not that there's a unique hotspot in any one place. It was that we tested aggressively in New Rochelle, and we found a lot of those cases initially. The numbers of growth in New Rochelle have slowed compared to other communities around Westchester. Why does that matter beyond the borders of Westchester County? Because now New York is facing the same argument in the nation. Someone will say that one of the smaller states out west or one of the largest states in the south has only 50 cases in the whole state, or only 35 cases in the whole state. And they point to New York State as having this high number of cases now, as we mentioned, over 30,000 cases. I have no way to know this, but my experience in Westchester County, projected nationally, tells me this. The more you test, the more you find positive cases as well as negative cases. It is the failure to test in the vast majority of this country that is the difference as to why New York has very high numbers and other places have very low numbers. The minute you start to test aggressively, you will find more cases. And I can't speak for specific states, but those states that are reporting very small numbers have not tested their population sufficiently to really know if the contagion is there. Why do you need to know that? The numbers may be comforting to you right now if you live in a state and it's a very small number of positive cases. The virus didn't come here. We only have 25 reported cases in the state or 100 reported cases in the state. But when the surge comes, when the number of people that are infected, whether you've identified them through testing or not, when they get sick about 3 weeks into their contagion, and it'll only be 20%, 80% of the folks will be fine and they won't be affected. But when that 20% cohort of your population gets seriously sick, you will be unprepared to deal with what happens. You will find yourself in an Italy-like situation where the community hospitals that you have that normally can handle the normal flow of health will be overrun. And if you haven't anticipated that there is a higher percentage of cases in your jurisdiction, you just don't know about it, you're not going to have the extra beds ready. You're not going to have the extra PPEs or the extra ventilators ready for you. New York and the neighboring states around us, Connecticut and New Jersey, we have taken this seriously. We understand that we are in a situation where if we want to protect our people, we have to plan for the worst case scenario. I would be the happiest person that I know if this does not materialize at the level that we fear. If it turns out not to be a problem, if we're able excuse me, to reopen stores sooner than we anticipated, go back to religious services sooner than we anticipated, that would be a terrific outcome. But what if it's not? What if what has happened in every other country happens here as well? What happens if what we saw in Italy happens here in New York? And worse, other parts of the country that don't think they have a problem. That is why we're taking these extraordinary steps. That is why the leadership of Governor Cuomo has been essential. That's why with every town supervisor and every village mayor and city mayor that I've interacted with, I have seen people, and it's Republican, Democrat, brand new elected official, long-term elected official, we're all responding with urgency because our job is to protect people's lives. Our job is also to deal with the economic downturn that we're facing. It's serious. We admit that. We understand that. The efforts we're making alongside the federal effort, we hope will help. And we're thinking about how to pull ourselves out of a recession or a depression every day of the week. But if we reopen prematurely, we will spread the virus further, and more people will die. And if you want something that's bad for business, death is bad for business. Mass death is bad for business. It will send a message that will have a chilling effect on the stock market. It'll have a chilling effect on people's willingness to invest. It will have a chilling effect on the way that people look around them and determine that they were deemed as, expendable by their next door neighbor because their next door neighbor was one age and you're a different age. We cannot play that game. And knowing that we need an economic rebound, it comes when we have put this virus behind us. If it can be put behind us in the short term, that would be wonderful. But in the meantime, we have to make prudent decisions based on what we see around the world. And it's not behind them in Italy. It may be behind them in China to some extent now, but China has a different society. China locks down their society because they have a totalitarian form of government. We do not. We have freedom, and we build that freedom into reality. Until and unless we lock down the United States of America, it has to be a clear and present danger for every American to accept that. And that is what we face. And what we face as a county government is to try to do the very best we can to defeat this disease, and then do the very best we can to pull ourselves out of the economic mess that we'll find ourselves in. But we do not do ourselves any good by not following the science. We do not do ourselves any good by telling ourselves fairy tales, that somehow magical fairy dust will save us. Science will save us. Practical decision-making will save us. Discipline and to some degree self-denial will save us. And we will come through this effectively.